So as you can tell from the title, I am going to read to you the first 2 chapters of my latest book. I'm reading the first 2 chapters because they're both pretty short. The first 4 or 5 chapters I think are all pretty short. So it would only be 5 minutes long if I only read the first chapter. So I thought I'd give you a little bit more of a feel for it in one go if you wanted. Hi, bud. Kitty. For those of you who want to know what it's about, it is an adult book. I feel like also a really good transition book for people who read a lot of YA and would like to get into more adult. It's about a girl named Chloe whose fiance dies suddenly, and she keeps thinking that she sees him around the house and she thinks she's going crazy and she can't handle it, so she decides to move so that she doesn't see him anymore and try and get past it. And move to a place where she's not reminded of him anymore and hopefully won't see him anymore. And turns out she's still seeing him when she moves, and she doesn't know if she's actually seeing him, if it's actually his ghost, or if this is just her mind's way of coping with it and it's not real. And early on in her move to her new apartment, in her new town, she meets a super gorgeous guy who she thinks maybe might help her move on because there'll be a new guy to kind of distract her from missing her fiance. But turns out this gorgeous guy she was hoping would distract her is gay. So yeah. Yep, that's what it's about. I'm really proud of it. It's, I think, a really good mixture of sad and funny and lighthearted and deep, and yeah, I think it's great. And there's lots of life thoughts and stuff that I think are, memorable parts. So yeah, anyway, we're rambling too much. First 2 chapters. Hope you enjoy.
I couldn't breathe. I literally forgot how to breathe. My chest was closing in, and I tried to take a breath, but it was like I didn't know how. I grasped at the wall and clenched my fingers around the door frame to hold myself up, but the room started to spin around me and I didn't know how to stand anymore either. I forgot how to function, how to talk, how to keep my eyes open. I had no idea. It was like all of a sudden, my life meant nothing. I was nothing in the world, and neither was the police officer standing in my doorway. His face meant nothing, even though it told me he was trying to care. His voice meant nothing when he said something to comfort me. His words meant nothing because I couldn't even hear them. I couldn't make them out. I couldn't process anything. I was just hearing sounds. I felt my knees give beneath me and I collapsed, my weight pulling me down like I had no will to even try and hold myself up. The police officer caught me and wrapped his arms around me tightly, and it did seem to help a little bit. With what, I wasn't sure. But the world seemed to spin less with his grip around my shoulders. But still, nothing mattered. Not anymore. Not without Sean. I couldn't stop replaying my last conversation with him over and over in my head. The snow was so bad I could hardly see across the street through the living room window, and he texted me to tell me he was on his way home from work. I called him, instead of texting him back, telling him to wait or stay at a friend's house. The weather was too bad. I didn't want him risking anything. If I do that every time it snows, I'm never going to come home during the winter, he had said. Yes, you will. It doesn't snow this bad every night. It'll be fine, Chloe, I promise. I'll see you in about an hour. Maybe an hour and a half. I didn't want him to. I didn't want him driving in that. Okay, I said slowly. I love you, he said. I love you too. And he hung up. And then he died. My mom came over to stay with me when I refused to go to her house. She didn't want me alone, and I told her the weather was too bad, that I wasn't going anywhere. When she sighed and said she'd come to me, I told her again the weather was too bad, and if she came over, she would probably die. She sighed, again, and said that it wasn't far, and she would bundle up and walk. She got to my house in too short a time to have walked, and I thought I heard her car lock in the driveway, but I was too dead inside to think too much about it. She knocked on the door and let herself in, calling my name into the dark hallway and gasping when she found me on the couch. "Why are you in the dark?" she asked. I just shrugged. "Are you okay?" How is that even a question? My fiancé just died, Mom. The man I was madly in love with and was going to spend the rest of my life with and make babies with just died. But yeah, I'm okay. She grabbed my face when I didn't answer her and shook me a little bit. "Chloe," she said, "talk to me." I shrugged and pulled away from her, wrapping my blanket around me. But my blanket felt empty. Like nothing. My blanket was nothing. My mom was nothing. I was nothing. Sean was gone. So everything else was too. "Chloe," my mom called from down the hall. "Are you sure you're okay in there?" I wasn't. I wasn't okay at all. In fact, I was so not okay that I wasn't where she thought I was. I told her I was going to bed, and when she asked me where, I snorted and said, "In my bed, where else?" But I had been standing in the doorway to my bedroom for 15 minutes, unable to take another step. I couldn't do it. Neither of us had made the bed that morning, so the sheets were still messy and curled up in the middle of the bed. Sean's pillow was still crooked and sort of smushed into mine, and if I got into bed, I would wreck it. I would take away Sean's blanket mess, and traces of him would start to disappear already. I couldn't do it. I backed out of the doorway and tiptoed down the plushy carpeted hallway into the guest room, where my mom was waiting. She probably knew this would happen. I didn't want it to happen. I didn't want any of it to happen. But never did I think I would be 25 years old and crawling into bed with my mom, because I was too afraid to sleep alone. The first few days after Sean's death was a big blur for me. I couldn't really process anything or understand a lot of what was coming out of people's mouths. Everything just sounded like word jumbles to me, and I had trouble coming up with appropriate responses. I kept throwing up at his funeral, and I knew people could smell it on my breath. They would always hug me and then cringe as they walked away. I didn't want anyone to hug me. I didn't want anyone to tell me they were sorry, or that they were there for me. I didn't want people giving me empty condolences just because they felt like they had to. It was all I heard from anyone I ever saw. Ever. "I'm sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry about Sean. I'm sorry this had to happen so close to the wedding." It wasn't even that close to the wedding. It was November, and we were getting married in August. I didn't even know why they would bring it up. Were they trying to make me feel shittier than I already was? I was already having to hear person after person after person just tell me how sad they were about Sean dying. Why would I want to hear about how it sucks that I was supposed to marry him? Why would I want to hear any of it? Of course they were all sad that Sean died. Sean was the best. Everyone should be sad about him dying. But what they shouldn't do is come up to me and tell me how horrible it is, as if I wasn't aware of it already. I know it's sad. I know he's dead. I know you're sorry. Stop telling me about it. Stop telling me you wish things were different. Stop telling me it's tragic. Stop telling me that he's missed. I fucking know that already. Why couldn't someone come up to me and tell me something I didn't know? Something that would maybe actually make me feel better. Something that might make me laugh. Like, "Oh, did you know that unicorns have extra super smell on the tips of their horns?" Something like that would have made me smile. It's random and cute and it has nothing to do with Sean. Or something like, "My 3-month-old niece farts like a 40-year-old man." That might have gotten a smile out of me. That shit's hilarious. But no. People are thoughtless assholes who think I want to hear everyone go on and on and on about my dead fiancé. I would like to hear more about how he's still dead. Yes. Let's do that. Then there was a lot of quiet staring into nothing. I just sat on the couch and stared at the wall like an emotionless statue, just waiting for something to happen to me. I couldn't even move or think about anything, because if I tried to think about something, the only thing that would come into my head would be Sean. Or how I would never hear his voice again. I would never again get to look into his dark chocolate eyes or run my fingers through his thick black hair. The few freckles on the apples of his cheeks would never smile at me when he laughed, and his body would never again keep me warm at night. His soft hands would never touch my face, and his fingers would never again link through mine. I would never again bury my face in his chest and breathe in his scent. Never. "Can you please come stay with me?" my mom asked the night after his funeral. I shook my head and curled up deeper into the leather sofa. "Please, Chloe, I worry about you." "Good. I have to get back to work, but I don't want to leave you here alone." "Just go back to work, I'm fine." "You're not fine. I can take another day off, but I really don't want to leave you here alone." "Why?" I sat up a bit, still wrapped tightly in my blanket. "Because you're depressed." "I would be worried about me if I wasn't depressed." "See," she said, "it's things like that. You're acting differently. You're not you." "I am me. I'm just a fiancé-less me." "Chloe." "Mom." She sighed and sat down on the couch, making me groan and curl my legs up to give her more room. "You can go home now," I said. "I'm fine." "You're not fine." "I'm fine!" She tightened a little bit, and I wanted to feel bad for yelling, but I just couldn't. I had every right to yell. I had every right to be depressed. I had every right to be the way I was being, so I didn't feel bad. "You're smothering me," I said. She winced and stood up. "Okay, I'll go. Call me if you need anything." Okay, so I felt a little bad about that one. I walked past our bedroom and wasn't even going to go in, but from the corner of my eye, I swore I saw Sean lying in our bed, all curled up under the covers. I did a double take, and he was still there. I shook my head and slowly closed my eyes, keeping them tight enough that I could feel my eyelashes on my cheeks. When I opened my eyes again, he was gone. Of course he was gone. He wasn't there to begin with. I shut the door gently, trying to ignore the goosebumps raising hairs up and down my neck, and made my way to the guest room. I had been sleeping for a few hours when I slowly woke up and groaned when I saw that it was only 1 a.m. I tried to go back to sleep, but all I did was toss and turn for an hour. I was still so tired, but I just couldn't fall back asleep. I was having trouble even keeping my eyes open, but no matter how long I lied there with my eyes shut, I just couldn't pass out. I finally gave up and threw the covers to the side, stepped into my slippers, and walked down the hall to the kitchen to make myself a glass of warm milk. I got goosebumps again when I came towards our bedroom, but I almost screamed when I noticed that the door was wide open. I distinctly remember closing that. I closed it because it creeped me out seeing into the room and thinking I could see Sean. I shut that door. I ran down the hall as fast as I could, feeling like I was 6 years old again and running from a monster. When I made it to the kitchen, I turned on all the lights and opened the fridge. Damn it, I was out of milk. I settled for a glass of water and pulled out the Brita jug, setting it on the counter beside the fridge. But as I turned to get a glass out of the cupboard, I saw the back of someone's head on the other side of the couch. Someone was sitting in my living room. I took a quiet step closer, being careful not to creak the floor when I walked, and tried to tell myself that I was just seeing things because I was so overtired. But as I got closer, I could hear him breathing. Sean? I couldn't believe I even said it. Of course I was thinking it. Of course I wanted it to be true. But saying his name in hopes that he would turn around and smile at me was just going to make this whole situation a million times worse. But then, he turned around and smiled at me.